And we're not live. We're recorded here on YouTube.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess. We'd like to welcome those listening in podcast land. And hey, my buddy Rich, you're sitting next to me.
I am, finally.
Yeah, it's been a while. How you been?
Not too bad.
You missed a week.
I did.
Do you got any show notes? Let's do that right off the bat.
Oh, man. From last week, you know what? Your NBA talk was very good.
Thank you.
I'm normally not an NBA guy, so I probably would have tried to steer you away from the NBA talk.
You do. And sometimes I know what I'm talking about when I'm talking NBA.
I just don't like it anymore. I don't.
We should try watching it. We're old men, and we got to get off our high horse. We got to sit down and watch a game. Tournament, how'd you feel about it?
You know, I liked it. Probably the only game that I probably watched a good majority of was the final. Mostly because, in our tournament pool that I had with members of our missional community, if Houston won, I won our pool, but if Florida won, my buddy Keith Peterson won.
Wow. That was so my commentary on it last week, the first half and the second half completely different calling. What do you feel about that?
I honestly, I really don't remember much about it. Okay. It was last week.
It was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it's almost 2 weeks ago now that it was played. Anyway, did you have a good time on your trip?
I did.
Good.
A lot of walking, but we got to see some neat things. They had bubblegum shrimps.
Love both.
And the Cadillac Ranch out there.
Yeah. Well, we got a short show for you. We're going to do a real quick show. We're in between a few things, and we're trying to get some stuff done. So, Rich, we're going to talk. We're going to do a brief what we think the Bears should do next week, and then we're going to give you next week. We're going to talk draft a lot more in depth of what actually happened. We didn't do a top 10 or what we think the top 10 is going to look like. We've done it.
I did.
Well, okay, sorry. We could have. I didn't. I could have, but I didn't think about it.
We're trying to shorten up the show.
Yeah.
So that's.
But we're going to say, yeah, it's going to be something that gets cut. That's fine. We're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the NASCAR corner. What else we got, Rich?
We'll be talking some Cubs baseball, and we got to talk the Masked Singer. But normally at this point, we'd say we're going to roll the intro, but we can't do that this week.
Nope, and I'm not going to even edit this. We are literally going to do this like if we were doing a live show. So, somewhere in the Midwest, we're broadcasting live. Here are Mike and Rich. Okay, that's close enough?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't have my phone because we're using my phone to do this, so you're going to have to pull everything up on your phone.
That's fine. So we have our poll question.
We did have our poll question.
So, Mike, you posted it. You paid attention to my note that I put in there to don't forget to post the poll.
I put it in.
So our poll question this week was dancing in the rain or climbing a tree.
That one was easy for me, actually.
Yeah.
And it's not what I initially thought I would vote. I voted dancing in the rain.
Okay, this was a hard one for me.
Okay.
Because I don't think I really like getting wet.
But
I also
dancing...
can't... But I've never really been good at climbing trees.
Here's the thing about dancing in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
When you finally dance in the rain, you are embracing the fact that you are soaking wet. It is so bad that you just don't even care anymore. And that is a good place to be. Like, you've embraced the terribleness that is your situation. You've embraced everything going on. And, yeah.
So I kind of voted, maybe, for me it was maybe like the lesser of two evils.
Yep.
So I went with Dancing in the Rain. And joining us, Mike, were Deborah Scott and Nathan Ross.
Okay.
And voting for Climbing a Tree was Jason Flanker.
Thanks for those that voted. If you want to participate in our poll question, go to facebook.com/ballsandsticks, facebook.com/fansofballsandsticks, or follow Rich and I on Facebook. We post it there. With that, Rich, do you see what's coming up next?
Well, first, let's let them know what the poll question is
what's
for
this
next week. We're going to go with flying a kite and planting a tree.
Arbor Day is this week.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh.
So you should go plant a tree this week.
Okay. Well, Mike, now we can see what's coming up next.
What is it, Rich?
Is it a left turn?
It is a left turn. And after that?
It's another left turn?
Yep. And why is that, Rich?
Well, because we're going to go into the NASCAR corner, which is presented by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois, and you can also find them on eBay.
Rich, time out. Red flag, because we don't have a race this week.
That's right. The cars are parked in the garages this
Yeah.
week. But last week, they were in Bristol for the Food City 500.
Yep.
Mike, your winner was Kyle Larson. My pick of Chase Elliott came in 15th. Mike, your pick and the pole sitter came in 36.
Now, I'm telling you, and I don't know if it was on there long enough to save the version, but I put Kyle Larson first. I 100% put Kyle Larson down first, but I'm like, no, I'm going to go with the pole sitter.
Okay.
With Alex Bowman. I thought that, yeah, he's going to do great. Second week in a row, the guy that won is the guy that I picked originally, and then I changed my mind. I'm picking nobody this week.
Okay, that's a wise move because there is no race this week.
Yeah.
All right, so in our fantasy, but just between the two of us, Mike, it is 6-3 in favor of me. Next week, the boys will be going to Talladega.
I want to go fast.
We'll be going to Talladega for the Jack Link's Beef Jerky 500, but that's next week.
But before our show, well, maybe before our show. It depends if we do Friday, if we do Saturday. If we do Friday, it will be after our show. But if we do Saturday, we might miss it. Next week, back on it again. You know who's going to be out there?
Jimmy Johnson?
Cletus McFarland.
Cletus McFarland's going to
Cletus McFarland is going to be running the ARCA race yet again. Watch for that. I'm sure they're going to do the YouTube live again. NASCAR has embraced him. I'm hoping this will be. Hopefully he does better and gets past not getting wrecked. But look for him on Saturday's ARCA race. I don't know if it's going to be on Fox, but if it's not,
I don't know if it will be on Fox or FS1. But you know where you can probably find that information? On the NASCAR app or NASCAR.com. Look for the ARCA series.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Take us out, Mike.
Rich, this has been the NASCAR Corner, presented as always by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois. Check them out for all your sports memorabilia needs on 5th Avenue in Moline or on their eBay store. Once again, this is Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. Rich, let's keep making left turns, but move to the dirt as we go to the diamond of baseball.
That's right, Mike. So, Mike, when you recorded your show, I believe you referenced that the Dodgers-Cubs game was being played at the time of recording. But you did not modify the number of wins that you said that they would make. So I said that they would win 2 games, as we are not counting the game that was in progress during your show when you hit the record button. So it was 1 against LA, which they won, 3 against San Diego, which they took 1 of 3, and they beat the Diamondbacks yesterday in a very wild game, giving them a record of 3-5 for the week.
Yep.
Yeah, 3-5 for the week. So
it would have had
normally what we do is we do like take away that game if for some reason we write up the outline, but we record later. We subtract that game. So I will give you the props that you guess the number of wins correctly.
Okay. Yeah. Man, they are playing well. They still have some issues. Our friend Nick Baker was really upset watching the game, the first game against the Diamondbacks, I want to say. And he said that he thought Craig Counsell was sitting on stuff and let people pitch too long, and it's hurting the team, which is what one of his big complaints was last year. I would say it's early in the season. He's trying to get a feel for his guys right now, so he's not all the way wrong, but I don't know that he's all the way right.
Yeah, I'm liking the way they're playing right now. They're playing some tough teams. They haven't even played, I think when I was listening to the game when we were driving over here today, Pat and Ron mentioned they haven't even played anybody in their division yet.
Yeah. Other crazy things. So we're getting ready now. We got a couple of pieces of news for baseball, but we're getting ready. We got 2 against the Dodgers this week. Guess what, Rich?
Then we're done with the Dodgers.
We're done with the Dodgers.
Yep.
So that's nice. And I think today we're done with the or tomorrow we're done with the Diamondbacks.
Yep.
So 2 of the top 10 teams.
Yeah.
In the at least in the NL.
Done with them.
Done with them.
Yep. I misspoke. I thought that the 2 games that they had in Japan counted as those 2. That's why I wrote a note last week saying I'm glad that we're done with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So I thought that those 2 games in
they count, but it's
well,
weird.
they count, but I wasn't sure where were the 2 home games being taken away from. So I would have thought
but they counted as neutral site games that didn't count as a home and away series, right?
So I guess it was there instead of a 4-game series in Chicago, it turns into a 2-game series with the 2 games being out in Japan.
Okay.
The other 2. So anyway, and then one with the Phillies. The Phillies come in for Arbor Day weekend.
Man, so we only have 4 games because we missed today's game. We missed. We're not gonna. I don't think we sweep the Diamondbacks. I'd like to see them do it, but I don't think we can. We'll pull 1 away from the Dodgers, and I think we can pull the 1 from the Philly. I think they're going to get 2. They're going to be right at 500.
All right, I'm going to go 2 as well. I'm not quite sure where they're going to get the wins, though.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. And the Phillies are a great team.
They are.
Ugh. By the way, did you know that the Cubs have the hardest April, but the easiest May?
I did not realize that.
The schedule-wise, the Cubs have the hardest April and the easiest May. So May should be our month. Hopefully June, July doesn't turn into the June swoon and the dog days of July. But hey, we got some news on one of our favorite guys, Kris Bryant, potentially career-ending back problems.
Yeah, I mean, this guy just hasn't been the same since Scott Boras got in his contract in Denver.
Made money.
He did.
I mean,
that's why you hire Scott Boras.
If your goal is to, be somewhere your whole life and to make an impact on one team and to be the greatest player at a location, don't hire Scott Boras. If you want to get paid, you hire Scott Boras.
Yeah. Well, I think the Cubs had a chance. They tried to negotiate with him.
Yeah.
But Scott Boras will not negotiate
before arbitration. Yeah, it doesn't work. So, yeah, I think that sucks. I don't think it's wise all the time, but he makes his players money.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing to see Kris Bryant struggling so much. I thought him going to Denver is like, all right.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be a home run king, and he hasn't been the same. And now it looks like he's having some terrible back issues. Speaking of injuries,
Justin Steele is out for the year.
I'd heard that that the Cubs were a little fearful that it was worse than what they were hoping for, that it wasn't going to be just a 15-day, and he's out for the year.
Yeah, they haven't said whether he's still getting some opinions done on the.
No, he had the surgery.
Oh, he had a surgery.
He's had surgery.
Okay.
I've seen pictures of him out of post surgery, so he had surgery on his elbow. It's done.
But you know what the Cubs actually have for once?
What?
They have depth.
They do.
They got Cade Horton down in AAA. They've brought up Jordan Wicks.
Yep.
They got Colin Ray.
Yep.
Good swing man who's stepped into the rotation with Steele out.
So,
and you still got Javier Assad coming back from the injured.
I'm not worried about it. I think they're above 500, and they're playing the toughest part of their schedule they're going to have all year.
Yeah. And I think with the way this team is constructed, if they have the division lead at the trade deadline, they will get somebody.
Oh, they're buyers for sure.
They would be buyers.
They are going to be buyers.
I don't know if it'll be at the top of the market, but they'll get somebody to show up the rotation.
I mean, they've opened up the purse strings quite a bit. I would not be surprised if they spend the money. So spend. Okay, with that, Rich, NBA preseason picks.
Yeah.
We got to check on those because the postseason starts today, right?
Yeah, the NBA action is tipped off, and I think even the NHL playoffs have actually started. So let's review our picks, Mike. I know you're fairly, you tend to stick with your preseason picks. I will modify mine a little bit.
You know what? So here's the problem. These ones don't really matter for much.
No, I don't.
So I picked them at the beginning of the season. I picked the Celtics
both teams
and the T-Wolves. Right?
Yep, both teams are in the playoffs. Neither team had to go to the play-in.
Why not?
Okay.
Why not? Let's go.
All right, so I went with the Knicks and the Suns. The Suns are really disappointed this year.
Yep.
They
should have had a good team. On paper, they were great. If they played every game on paper, the Suns would have been one of the top teams.
I mean, if anything, this just goes to show with roster building, you can't build a team like a fantasy basketball team and expect wins. So maybe this could be the end of like those big three team type teams.
Oh, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Nope.
Still think the teams will.
I think the super
put
teams
together
will.
Their superstars.
Yep, they're gonna
fill out the rest of the roster with rookies that.
How often do we see it work versus how often do we see it not work?
That's true.
So,
but you know, I miss the days of seeing like a team like the.
If you say the Bulls were a super team.
I know the Bulls were.
But here's the thing: they built it
organically.
That's why the Bulls were. That's why again I argue that the Bulls were the greatest team of all time because they built it organically.
Yeah.
In this era of player empowerment, which, by the way, the players should get what they get. And the players should do what they do. And if the players want to tamper with each other, and they're allowed to, okay.
Yeah.
So,
but could you imagine Patrick Ewing playing for anybody else but the Nets, the Knicks?
Nope.
Reggie Miller with anywhere else but the Pacers?
Nope. Now,
those teams were built like that.
So I'm
Hakeem. I mean, those. Ewing and Hakeem did play for other teams, like one or two off year teams, but you know them as Knicks and Rockets.
Or Michael Jordan with the Wizards. You remember it.
If you have to say with LeBron winning a championship with 3 different teams, maybe 5 years from now, or just going to a random person on the shade. Which team do you think LeBron James is most known for? You could get any and all answers between the Cavs, Lakers, and Heat.
I would probably say the Cavs because that was home. But I mean, what he's done with the Lakers. By the way, I don't like saying it, but the Lakers team feels like they might do something in this playoffs. I'm not picking them. I'm sticking with my guns. So, okay. Rich,
with the Suns not making the playoffs, I went with the number 1 seeded Thunder.
Okay, not a bad pick.
All right, going over to the ice, Mike. Your preseason pick was the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers.
They both make the playoffs. I'm picking them.
All right, I had the Rangers and the Wild. The Rangers did not make the playoffs. The Wild made it as a really low seeded wild card team with a tough matchup in the first round. Yeah. I think they got to take on the Knights in the first round. I think so. So I modified it, and I'm going to go with the Dallas Stars over the Maple Leafs.
Okay. With that, that's our hockey and NBA stuff. We'll keep you updated next week as we go through if either of our team drops out or if we have results on stuff. With that, Rich, let's get some NFL talk in. Bears, what should they do? All we're going to do. Your quick, succinct answer. What should the Bears do now? And if you want to say who you think they're going to pick or who you think they should pick in the first round, after you did a whole mock draft.
Tough. I did. I did a whole mock draft, and the mock draft with the way that I played out the top 10, the guy that made the most sense for me was tight end Tyler Warren from Penn State.
Okay,
bunch of mock drafts that I looked at took Warren as well. And I had fun by asking ChatGPT the simple question of, if you were general manager of the blank, who would you take in the NFL draft? All the way through the top 10.
Yeah, you did it that way?
I did.
Okay, next week, I want to actually go through that. I think that sounds like a fun exercise. We don't have time to do it right now.
We don't. And it gave the Bears Will Campbell, the tackle or offensive lineman from LSU.
I don't mind that, actually. We have been arguing and we've been stating that we think that the Bears need to get linemen and linemen only.
But they've actually done that this
But
year.
they did so well in the offseason. I'm at the point, I think they should be best pick.
You know what I'd like to see them do, Mike?
What?
Trade down.
Ooh, trade down that 9? Maybe
Trade
get
down from 10.
Or from 10? From 10? Yeah.
They're at number 10.
Yeah, trade down from 10. Maybe get a swap
the
first
thing is-
rounds and then maybe get a second or third round out of it.
Yeah, or a third rounder. I don't
Yeah.
know if they have a third round pick this year.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm just not seeing anything in this draft that people would want to trade up for. So
Nope.
I think a lot of people are
So in your mock draft,
okay.
did Shador go in the first round?
I did. I put him at number 9 to the Saints.
And what did ChatGPT say?
ChatGPT gave him to number 3 to the Giants, only because I had to modify the question for it.
Okay.
Because it originally gave it Travis Hunter, but of course the Giants couldn't draft Travis Hunter because the Browns got him. Because as GM of the Browns, that's who he gave.
Okay.
So modifying the question of who would you draft if Cam Ward and Travis Hunter are unavailable, who would you take? It reasoned that quarterback is a need for this team, so it gave it Shedeur Sanders.
Okay. I really, next week, this is going to be fun. That was a genius thing for you to do, and I love it. Next week, we're going to spend some time on this. Even though the first round is going to be done, we're going to go through what ChatGPT said. And this will mean we'll be able to tell you whether or not ChatGPT got it right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Mike, if you have time before Thursday,
Yep.
I shared the spreadsheet with you where I put ChatGPTs in my picks. Fill yours.
I
in
will.
before Thursday.
Tuesday is a day off. I don't really have plans. I don't think the wife and I are going to do anything super special. I might be able to sit down and do that. So
Okay. Only
hopefully.
the top 10. We'll just
Only
go
top 10.
to where the Bears pick. I know you sometimes like to do it as well. I'm going to do a trade. I think there's going to be a trade, so this is where I drafted it.
Yeah, sometimes.
I
But
did not do it with a trade in mind. The only thing that I did is that I wanted to get Travis Hunter to the Giants, so I made my pick as the Browns, as if Travis Hunter was not an option for me.
okay. Okay.
But more on that for
We'll do that next week.
But as far as what the Bears should do, I think I'd want them to trade down if there's a trade partner for a guy that wants to go up,
Sure.
because I really don't know if
I-
a top offensive. I think you can get a good offensive lineman later on.
Yep.
I don't think they necessarily need to trade up to get Allison Janney.
Nope.
If they draft him, great, but I wouldn't want to trade up. And there's some good running backs that you can easily nab in the second round.
I think, honestly, for the Bears, I think right now they've shored up their offensive line quite a bit. Their defense, they've done some good stuff on. I really do like best pick, best man up,
Yeah,
and sometimes that's a judgment call, but I think next man up. So, okay. With that,
but overall, I think this could be one of the first drafts where I don't think I'm going to be upset with who they choose.
yeah. I could be. If they trade up to number 2 to get Shedeur Sanders,
No,
they're not going to
that.
do right. But if they did something stupid like that, I'd be upset. Barring something
if
stupid.
they traded Caleb Williams to
Yeah.
go up to number 1 so they could get
Yeah,
Sanders or Ward.
yeah. Don't do that. Outside of that, you're good. Okay, with that, Rich.
So next week, the agenda for the NFL is to maybe give our early reactions to the first 2 rounds, because more than likely we will record well after the Bears have made their second round picks on Friday, and maybe some team reactions
To other teams.
to other teams and what the Bears did.
Yep. Okay, with that, Rich, Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. This is actually a spoiler, not what I did to you last week. I apologize, folks. I gave you a quick spoiler, and then I said I'm going to do this, and then I did it immediately, and I didn't really give you a real spoiler, even though I did say spoiler alert right away.
I don't even think you really talked about your esports team that week.
I did. I just did it
Okay.
after.
Okay.
So I am going to talk about esports. Man, it was a rough week. But we're going to talk Masked Singer. If you don't want to hear about it, you can turn us off. If you do want to hear about it, but you haven't watched the episodes and you don't want the spoiler, you can pause, go watch it with your missus or by yourself. I'm not here judging, or whoever you're doing it with. Go watch it, come back, let us know what you thought. If you want to catch us on Facebook, look up facebook.com/ballsand6 or facebook.com/fans of balls and sticks. Rich, they're watching this on YouTube, but they want to listen to it on their 5-hour drive back to wherever they're coming from. How should they do that?
Look us up wherever you find your podcasts. We're on most of the podcast platforms. YouTube, not YouTube, goodness. Google Podcasts, Apple, and
Actually,
Spotify.
it is YouTube podcast now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Good to know. But I don't know.
wherever you get them, we're good. We're there.
More than likely, you will find us.
Yep. Okay. With that, Rich, let me talk about esports real quick.
You got
we
it.
lost.
You don't lost?
We lost the second game in a row.
Wow.
Now, this one was incredibly close. The first round, we lost by like 6 points.
Yeah.
Second round, we won by like 4 points. And the third round, we lost big time. But so we lost. That's 2 losses. We probably are going to end up in the playoffs. So,
But a lower seed. But
What?
a lower seed?
we'll be actually a high seed.
Okay.
Higher seed, but I think we'll be okay. So with that, check that team out on youtube.com/@Okaboji Esports. Okay, that's long enough.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's probably you probably also should
On Facebook and
you'll find a link in our show description for it
Yep.
because I don't even know how to spell Okaboji so that's
OKOBOJI.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, Rich,
Okay.
let's go to the Masked Singer. This week we have the Lucky Six.
We did.
This might be the best top 6 or top, like the first coming together of the 3 or whatever, however many groups it is that we've seen in a really long time.
Yeah. Who was your favorite performer of the night? Because they always ask you when they're voting. It's not vote who you think should go home tonight. It's who was your favorite performance of the night. So if you were in that studio audience and you had to vote,
Probably
for
Nessie.
somebody, Nessie.
Yeah.
Okay. I liked the Boogie Woogie the best.
Yeah, Boogie Woogie's, man. What's crazy is how good, like, you forgot how good Paparazzo was. You forgot how good Coral. Yeah, like, almost everybody. There was one performance I thought was lackluster.
Yeah. If they voted for, if the question was, who do you think deserves to go home tonight? It would have been the Pearl for me.
100%. I would have voted Pearl. If it's based on that episode's performance, was the worst. By far and away the worst. Overall, I think she did better than who went home, which is actually the Paparazzo.
Yeah.
I thought he did great.
Yeah, I thought he did well as.
I can't believe he went home.
All right, so good clues though, but I think that one might have had to have done with the. I guess like with the super, what do they call it, the colossal clue, and like the secret clue that he gave. So there was way too much information that you could gather from that, and we've also said it on here that when the panel is on the trail with who they think it is, that's more than likely 9 times out of 10 that's who's going home.
Yep, and it was Matthew Lawrence.
Yes, Matthew Lawrence.
So I didn't. And he's like, I've never sang in front of anybody. I did it because I could hide. That man had a good voice.
He did.
He did great. I didn't know he was dating Chili from from TLC. Good for him. And overall, it was great. Like, I think he did great. And Jenny McCarthy now has 3, or is it
She's
4?
up to 4 now.
Yeah, which is huge. Like, Kim has to win 3 of the next 5.
Yeah. So with the top 5 now,
Yep.
the 5 remaining,
Yep.
who do you think? Who's your pick to win it?
I think you're right with Boogie Woogie.
Okay.
I still stand by. By the way, I wanted to ask you this.
Okay.
Last week, you watched it. You watched it.
I did.
We know we talked about it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I said I don't think it's truly a country song because most professional singers at least can throw their voice enough that it's not just always going to be one thing.
I think with the clue package of the Nashville flag, not the Nashville, the Tennessee state flag,
Yeah,
that it has to be a country western star.
I
don't think it's your baseball player of Tim Lincecum.
might not. It might not be. I'm gonna stick by it. But we'll see what happens.
I think the Pearl's gonna have to be the next one to go. If I'm ranking the 5, I think I go Pearl at 5.
Yep. I'd say Scientists at 4.
Yeah, the Scientist I think is at 4. Put
And
the Coral at 2. With Boogie Woogie and
Nessie at 3. Nessie at 3 and Boogie Woogie at 1.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not mad at that. I think Nessie could go 2. I think, but I honestly, I don't like country music. He has a great voice, but I think I would like to hear it do something other than country. And that's the only reason why, if it was voting who you think should go home, I think it should be the Mad Scientist.
You know what? That's true because we had the same feeling with the Frog.
Yeah.
Who would always do rap hip hop every single week, regardless of what. They weren't really doing themes at that point in the show, but every single song was more in the rap hip hop line of songs, and he didn't sing.
Yep. Okay. With that, Rich, do you have any shout outs this week?
This week I don't, because we came together to celebrate your daughter's birthday today.
I did that last
Quad
week.
Cities, but you really did a great job of talking about that last week, when it was her actual birthday.
I have one shout out.
Okay.
This week we celebrate the most important day in history.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're a sports podcast, but first and foremost, we're men that believe that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior, and He died for your sins, and that the only way to heaven is through Him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Got to give a shout out to Good Friday and Easter Sunday. If you don't know what that's all about, it's about Jesus Christ giving Himself up, pouring His whole self out for your sin, and then bringing you life by rising from the dead. Everything we do on here is for fun, but if we can bring you closer to that truth, we've done way more than we can hope for. We thank you for listening. We don't have an outro. We just got to say, Jesus is Lord. And Rich,
Mm-hmm.
He is risen.
He is risen indeed.